Hi Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is going to be your general reading for March 2023. The messages may not resonate with everyone, so I suggest that you check back to your Moon and Rising sign videos, okay, because that story may resonate more. But in order to gain any insight into your own situation requires a personal reading. And this is where I take your birth date, your sun sign, and your questions, and I pluck you out of the collective and lay the cards for you. You can go to the About box section of my channel to find my reading packages. There you'll find the number of questions, the number of minutes, and the price. And then you simply email me at the address here, hiddenlotustarot@gmail.com. Hey Tara, I want the 1 hour reading, and then I'll email you back. Do know that, and it's in the About box section, that when you email me, I respond typically within 24 hours. So it would be a good idea for you to add my email address into your contacts so that when I respond back, it won't go to your spam folder, because that's typically what happens. So I have with me the Radiant White deck. Okay. I have with me the La Vida Sibila here. And I also have with me, we'll be wrapping the reading up with a Golden Nostradamus. Now, I've already done some meditation and shuffling on the Sagittarian sign and glyph. So I'm going to turn the camera around. Yes, of course, it went blurry, but that's okay. We'll get it fixed. There, it did itself. And so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to put one more shuffle and rifle on these, and then we'll lay the cards, 9 cards. For those of you who are new to my channel and my style of reading, I read energies, not cards. Okay, and for those of you who've been with me since 2015, I would like to thank you so much for sticking around. Here we go. Let me put that card up there. One more rifle. All right, Capricorn, here we go. First card down, the Moon. Now, this is a timing issue. We have a new moon in Pisces coming up on I want to say it's the 22nd. Okay, we'll come back to that. Next row, the Knight of Pentacles. Oh, well, the 5 of Pentacles. Okay, not a big deal. Next row, the King of Wands. The 7 of Cups, the 8 of Swords. Well, it appears that this particular king and this knight have an influence of whatever the situation is about. Let's lay the rest of the cards so we can see what the story is. The Knight of Wands, the 10 of Swords. Well, now, and the Knight of Cups. Well, that's interesting. I've got 3 knights. Okay. 2 of them are facing the same direction. 1 is faced towards the past, and this is past, present, future, interplay of the cards. And then what is the energy over the entire reading? There is the 3 of Swords. Well, well, well. It is always important when either court cards repeat themselves or the numbered cards repeat themselves. I only have 1 major arcana. It is the Moon, so this is our timing, so to speak. That is one aspect of this particular card. I have 2 Pentacles, 2 Wands, 2 Cups, and 2 Swords. So there is this hidden aspect of 2 here. So we're dealing with a relationship of some kind. This could be friendship, familial, business, romantic, and no matter if you are same-sex or heterosexual, this reading will apply to you. As male and female, we can all embody the different energies of the kings and queens and these knights here. Now, I think what I find most interesting out of this is this particular knight, this particular king and this particular knight are of the same suit. So usually when I see that, it's either the idea that there's going to be a message about this individual or a message from this individual. But for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you know that the Knights really represent events. Okay. So I feel that this is the idea of someone returning from your past. As you can see that way. Okay. In a way, it kind of tells me that the person left, but now they're returning because the energy is going both ways. I have no repeater numbers. So the Knight of Pentacles is usually a message of good news, okay? Or it is news that you've been waiting on for a long time. It may be of a financial nature because it is a pentacle, but the pentacles don't just represent finances, they represent the doing of something, the third dimension. So typically when that shows up, this is the idea of studying something, of researching something, of practicing some kind of skill or learning a new skill. It could be that maybe you've been studying to get your master's or your PhD, or maybe you've been working on getting a promotion or something of that nature. Now, traditionally, the Knight of Pentacles, the card says that when he appears, you should give him a cool drink and a place to rest because it's taken him a long time to arrive with whatever the news is. Now, as I said, Knights come along in the tarot to move a situation along. So for me, this is an event. All right. Movement, doing something, there's movement. But as you can see, he's got the slowest horse out of all of the Knights, right? The horse is large, it is lumbersome, and in fact, it's even standing stock still. You have this one who looks like he's charging a little bit, okay? And then you have this one caught in midstream. So right in the center, I have the Seven of Cups. Now, sevens are numbers of a pause and reflection. It deals with the idea of questioning ourselves, okay? And whenever I see the Seven of Cups, it's an indication of of confusion. Emotional confusion, for one thing. Maybe because you have a lot of choices to choose from, or you have so many wishes and desires that you'd like to, I don't know, have accomplished, whatever the case may be. We don't know if this figure is taken aback by that, in the sense that he's gotten the realization he's got all these choices to choose from, because sometimes this card can be, whatever that situation is a nightmare. We can see that he's in relief. And all of these things are floating in the clouds. So sometimes this card can be about like building castles in the air, that everything that somebody wants or wishes for, it's just a pipe dream, okay? So the card can sometimes be about hallucinations and or delusions. It could sometimes be the idea that maybe someone has a substance abuse problem, but they're always talking about or thinking about or formulating things that they want to get done. Inside that particular group of cups, we have different things. We have self-actualization, we have property, we have finances, we have peace, we have power here with the dragon. We even have temptation. So the question with this particular card is that if you can't identify whatever the most important thing is, and we're going to say it's that thing under the shroud, then everything else can fall into place. You may realize that some of these things were not even important once you identify what this thing is. So the Seven of Cups can say that you most certainly can have all of those things, but first you have to be realistic about what the most important thing is. And I've seen the card show up when it says that sometimes you can expect a sudden surprise, an unexpected surprise. Okay, something we didn't even know we wanted. Now, everything else is happening around this Seven of Cups. So starting with the moon, we do have the Pisces new moon on February 20th. But also the moon is an indication that, again, maybe you or someone that you're dealing with is operating from a standpoint of fantasies and illusions. It could be undercurrents. You not seeing everything or knowing everything that you need to know about a particular situation. The moon card counsels, however, that sometimes we have to travel a path without really being able to see where we're going or knowing what obstacles or trials that may come before us while we're going down this path. So it counsels to try to maintain your emotional balance if you can, because sometimes this card can be the indication that someone's having, you know, up and down emotions. You know, it could be related to hormonal issues, or it could be related perhaps to substance abuse, one of the two. And so it asks us to counsel to try to balance the domestic side and the wild side. The crustacean here talks about things coming from the surface. So this could be psychological fears. It could be illusions, hallucinations, delusions. It could also be about fears, right? Because we can see more clearly by the sun than we can the new moon, right? But we can see more clearly by the full moon than we can the new moon because it's dark. So there's something happening here. Now we come to the Five of Pentacles, and the Five of Pentacles typically is a card that speaks about financial troubles, financial issues. And this could be the fear of not having enough money to pay your rent or buy food or pay your cell phone bill or your car or whatever the case may be. It's the idea of feeling sorry for yourself. You feel left out in the cold. But the card also says that usually when this is the occasion or the situation, it's usually brought on by either things that you've done yourself or the lack thereof, okay? Either you did something you shouldn't have, or there's something you need to do to fix it. It also, to me, is an indication that sometimes we're so caught up in feeling sorry for ourselves or being so worried that we can walk by help, all right? And sometimes this is governmental agencies that you can reach out to, or citywide services, something of that nature. But here, this tells me the fivefold path, that there are 5 things that you can do, okay, or that should be done. It's a 5, ups and downs, changes, and usually those changes are very tense and terse and full of anxiety. The King of Wands, a fire king, so he could either be an Aries, a Leo, and or a Sagittarius. But if he's not one of those, then it talks about the characteristics of this particular king. This king is passionate. This king is dynamic. He may be someone who owns a business. He's the entrepreneurial king. He's got a lot of irons in the fire. He does a lot of delegation, okay? But in his most negative, he can be selfish, quick and hasty, without giving a lot of thought to what he's saying or what he's doing. And there's definitely some kind of confusion here surrounding him, along with this 8 of Swords. Now, the swords represent thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, ideas, and communications. The pentacles represent finances and or the third dimension, doing things. The wands represent your focus, your passion, your determination, your desire. The cups are simply your emotions. How do you feel about something, or how does something make you feel? We see it's confusion, emotional confusion. But we come to the 8 of Swords, and this card also has somewhat of a similar message as the 5 of Pentacles. The 8 of Swords is one of the 2 hoodwinked cards in the deck. And when I say hoodwinked, you can identify them because the 2 cards, the figures both have blindfolds. So that's the 2 of Swords and the 8 of Swords. And so the 8 of Swords is this card of the windmills of our mind. We're worried about something and we feel uncomfortable about it. Maybe we're in a situation we find ourselves in we don't feel comfortable with. Maybe you or someone else is behaving in a manner that you think is okay, but it makes you feel weird, or maybe you're trying to get something out of the other person behaving in a certain way or not standing up for yourself. So the card comes along to ask, well, did the person do this to me? Did they put me in this situation, or did I do it to myself? And the card says that typically when you find yourself in this situation, it's something that you did to yourself. This can be difficult for us to deal with, and maybe we don't even see it. But it also feels that it says that you think that you're in a situation that you can't get out of. You're bound and you can't get out. Well, even if you can't move physically, your mind is free to think whatever it is. Nobody controls your thoughts but you. And so the card counsels that even if you can't move physically at the moment, you could at least be thinking ahead, or what are you going to do once you are freely able to move? And then you should realize at some point that you're not bound in such a way you can't be free. So if you haven't been able to think clearly, this confusion, because sometimes this card says the inability to make a decision or think clearly. Once you can see clearly, then you'll realize you can shake off those bonds, look around, and notice that you're not bound up at all. You're not being restricted in any way. I've seen this card show up sometimes when people go to jail, or there's a looming possibility of jail there, okay? But then we see the Knight of Wands. Now, this is a message, and as I said, it's either a message about this particular king, okay, or from this particular king, and it also says that this particular king may be returning. Now, those of you who have been with me since 2015 know I tell you all the time, if somebody shows up under the auspices of the Knight of Wands, someone returns, they're not going to stick around. They'll come in and then they're gone again, okay? And usually this is so that the universe can test you to see if you really do want what you say you want, all right? On the back side of this knight, we see the Ten of Swords. So remember when I was talking about that idea of 2? If I add the 2 swords to the 8, that gives me the 10. And 10s always speak about the end of a cycle. So this mental cycle, this I can't get out of this situation, or I'm trapped in some way, or somebody tricked me into this, right? Finally reaches a point, either when this person returns or when you get the message. And so the Ten of Swords, like the Eight of Swords, has the attachment of maybe there was some betrayal, or there was some treachery, or there were some lies. There was an ambush. Somebody stabbed me in the back, okay? And I call it the card of overkill because you only need 1 well-placed sword and not 10 to kill somebody. And in fact, this has been bothering someone so much that maybe they've been experiencing a lower back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, because from all the tension. So it is the card that says that the crisis point has been reached and soon this will be over. But I will tell you that the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords is the most difficult energy to come out of. It's a mental energy, but it's a difficult energy to come out of. And that's because you're working with your thoughts here, okay? The card also can speak to the idea of the darkest before the dawn. The card also talks about long distance travel, perhaps over water, by water, near water. Someone returning. And finally, it ends with the Knight of Cups. Now, most tarot readers will say, oh, that's a possibility of a lover coming in. That's true. But in my experience, this is the idea of someone emotionally taking their cup and riding off. This is my outgoing energy. The Knight of Cups never promises love. It's just that the idea of love is there. So this could be the feelings. It could be infatuation. It could be someone who's quite dreamy and make you feel a certain way, but they never quite give you any indication or solid signals and messages and news about where the relationship may be or what the potential of the relationship is. So this is a fickle energy. See how the horse hasn't crossed that stream yet? He stopped in mid-stride. Okay. Now, over the entire reading, we have the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords presages, first of all, unsettling communications. Okay, that's first. The second thing is it's an attack on the feeling center. Either someone has said something to you that stabbed you in the heart. Maybe you said something ugly about someone else. Crosswords, miscommunications. Okay. Sometimes this card can presage a breakup or a separation, that happens quite suddenly and quite swiftly. But even though that it is a 3, this is a far faster moving energy than the 8, the 9, and the 10. Because this card says that sometimes when things aren't going right, particularly if it's in a relationship, we have to sometimes go through short-term pain in order to realize whatever it is that we need to realize. That we're not emotionally confused. We don't think somebody's doing it to us. Because I always tell you guys, the most important person in any relationship is yourself. Right? And so if a relationship is not growing, it's not positive, it's not helping you in any way, then it must be allowed to die a natural death. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Okay? The card can sometimes say that if you have had an argument with someone and you're not sure what the real reason are, you're going to be hearing, you'll find out soon enough. Now, I think what strikes me the most, as I said, are these three different nights. Doing something, focusing and being determined on something, and how we feel. Okay? And you can see that the focus, the passion, the determination, the desire is quite different from the emotional quotient. They're going in two different directions with the Ten of Swords in the center. And so, 3 nights typically speaks of fights and arguments over money, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that for you. Nope. 3 nights, I'm sorry. 2 nights indicate mixed messages or signals that cause you to doubt the sincerity of a male friend. And again, whether you are male or female, or you take the male or female role, it's going to apply. But 3 nights warn of more heated arguments to come. And if we look at this knighting here, we see that, yeah, maybe someone, because this card also not just, let me go back up, because this card not just talks about not having the finances. This card is about valuing yourself. When you don't feel valued, or you're not being treated fairly, or you're respected fairly, it can make you feel poor. And it can affect other areas of your life. Okay? Who or what is more important than money or gold? It's kind of what this card is saying to me in this instant. But if you look, we see that eventually this king's going to leave. Here, under the auspices of the moon, you maybe you standing stock still and you going through your own situation here. And this tells me you're going to have to go back to the past to fix this. Unbeknownst to you, this person is writing back in. Okay? Now, I have these 4 court cards, so it says that there could at least be many people involved. Okay? I have to throw that out there, but it doesn't really mean that. It's not saying that to me from my intuition. Now, I can't look at any of these cards because traditionally they represent people. And what does that leave me? It leaves me the 5 of Pentacles, the 7 of Cups, the 8, and the 10 of Swords as it relates to the moon. So let's see if there is any additional information. We'll start with the 5 of Pentacles. Feeling of poverty, and not just financial poverty. Okay, nothing about the 5 of Pentacles with the moon. But sometimes this card can say that you have overlooked or missed something in the details of your plan or actions in the near past. And by near past could be yesterday out to the end of 2022, and near to distant future can be tomorrow out to 2024. Okay? It tells of a feeling of destitution and an urgent need to look around you to take appropriate action to bring about positive change. This tells of a time when you really need to review your goals, plans, and lifestyle choices, as things are not as positive as they could or should be. Therefore, it is time to reassess your position and reassess your wants and or needs. Okay? It can also be an indication of a variety of obstacles, setbacks, or feelings of lack and loss. It may indicate economic and financial difficulties. However, a realistic check of current circumstances is needed at this time. Right? Love and money equate to each other because they are both about value. 7 of Cups. The 7 of Cups. Very interesting card. Tells me nothing with the moon card. But it tells of the realization of the impact of one's thoughts in creating their own daily reality. The card asks that you not be fooled by illusion and or fantasy. Positive thinking and an optimistic outlook will lighten daily life. It asks that you narrow down your choices as you have too many options to choose from, which leads to confusion. Put aside things that do not suit your goals. You are asked not to be too disheartened by any delays in activities, but it will be wise for you to reflect on the positive aspects that already exist. The card can sometimes give an indication as though you are at a standstill or at a crossroads, and choosing the right path can be challenging and daunting. That goes back to that underlying 2 energy. 2s always represent choices, options, dualities, crossroads, decisions, oppositions. Whether you are opposed within yourself about something or someone is actively opposing you. Okay? So, we will now move to the 8 of Swords. Let's see here. The 8 of Swords. Nothing about the 8 of Swords. But I will tell you that another one of the meanings is this card is it says, pay attention as some long-awaited news or information is on its way to you. We see it there. It implies that you are unable to think clearly. It tells of fear, hurt, and confusion. But it also implies that if you worry continuously, you're going to run the risk of becoming depleted of energy. And what that does when you're not at your best physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, it leaves you open to people coming in and perpetrating frauds on you. This is the inability to make firm decisions and choices. Sometimes an 8 can also be an indication of some kind of obstacle or delay. Now, it also says that it speaks of freedom and movement and may indicate a move or change or relocation of your home, but also indicate a journey, a trip, or vacation in the near future. So as I was saying to you, I've got movement here, but the movement is all over the place. Okay, so this may not be literal movement, but metaphorical movement. Finally, we come to the 10 of Swords. Now, there's something to me about the moon with this card and this card. Let me take a look at the 10 of Swords. Nothing about the 10 of Swords. Although appearing in a spread, it is a warning for you to take the utmost caution when undertaking any new venture at this time, particularly if you are dealing with people you do not know well or at all. This leads to feelings of distrust and suspicion, and these feelings within you may be warranted. So look closely at all avenues from all angles and only proceed if you feel it is the right thing to do for you. It can be telling of the conclusion of something that has caused a great deal of pain and anguish in the near past, whether it be a relationship or business situation. The 10 of Swords implies that the crisis point has been reached and things will now be resolved and will improve all around. Could even be an indication of a legal issue. Now, because the 3 of Swords is over this, I'm going to take a look to see if this will give me any information. It does not. However, my intuition is saying to me that this is the individual here that this is about. Someone from your past, most definitely. Okay? And the future of this situation, if I'm reading down here, is you're going to feel left out in the cold. You're not going to understand. You're going to be confused by it. But that's going to give both you and he the opportunity to move on. Okay? So, I don't know if this is, as I say, a romantic relationship, because there's subtle indications of people not being truthful, and perhaps even the idea that they're saying one thing and doing another. Most definitely that the person is all over the place, one or you or both of you. Okay? Got to remember, we have to take responsibility as well for our own actions. I'm going to look at this 7 of Cups. There he is. The Il Nemico. The enemy. Typically when this card comes up and it says, you thinking, oh my God, that's old, Byron that she's talking about. This card comes to confirm the first person that comes to mind in terms of this situation. this is the correct person. It is the correct person that you are thinking about. So there is the enemy. The letterato. I'll explain that in a moment. And finally, the belvedere. Well, that's quite interesting. So the il nemico is just that. It is someone who actively works against you. This could be at work, so he would be a colleague who's always, shooting down your plans. If this is a romantic relationship, this is an ex, or could be someone who's trying to steal you from your current partner now, making a return, coming back, causing all kind of trouble. So it could be an ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, an ex-lover, okay? Nevertheless, the person speaks with a forked tongue. They're full of lies and deception, okay? And can sometimes even become dangerous, all right? Here with the letterato. Now, if you'll notice, he's sitting in the same position or same as we find this King of Wands. The letterato is usually looked at as someone who's extremely intelligent and very skilled and knowledgeable about whatever it is that they do, okay? He's also known as the artiste, so sometimes he can represent someone who has artistic leanings. But for me, he shows up like this. Now, I don't read reverse cards, so let me tell you what this is saying. Reversed. Because he's a very cold and calculating individual and someone you want to be very, very careful with. Okay? Let me see here. What is he? He is the number... I can't tell. My cards are so old. Okay. Here we are. Reversed. Someone not to be trusted because they have an ulterior motive. It is a cold-blooded person without scruples who will do anything to get what he wants. But also the person can plot elaborate revenge plans, right down to the finest details, and wait years or a long time until the time is right for them to act. Broadly speaking, the card indicates a lack of inspiration and sterility in more than one area of life. This could be somebody who feels as though they've chosen the wrong field of study. Financially, it points to a business that has reached an impasse and serious decisions need to be made. On a personal level, it denotes someone with lack of self-esteem, dejection, and the wrong use of one's mind. In other words, they put their intelligence to evil ends. The message is to be wary of this person. It is also represents someone who's not able to think straight as a result of not being able to cope with outside circumstances. As you can see, this all touches on him too. So remember I said maybe this guy's delusional. I don't know. But it also warns that a promise will not be kept and trouble in a relationship. Usually one partner has fallen out of love with the other or is seeing someone else or is taking advantage of the other in a calculating way. All right? Here with the Belvedere. The Belvedere card is about looking out into the future. But the card, the telescope is the wrong way around. So the telescope is an indication of not only are you waiting for something to approach, you're looking at it far away, but you're waiting for it to approach. So this card has the emotion of having to wait for all of these things that you have to wait for. You don't know what's coming. You can't see it. So the card counsels that instead of you delving into what somebody else is doing, look within to your own self to see why it is you're in the situation that you are in. Okay? That is what's happening for you, Capricorn, for March 2023. I want you to go ahead and formulate a question for the Golden Nostradamus. It's quite interesting. A lot happening in March. This is someone returning back. You know they're coming. Maybe you don't know when, and you don't know how they're going to show up. And what I mean by how is how they're going to appear when they come back. They could be coming back with sweet words and promises, but the cards are telling you, don't trust that, okay? Don't fall for the same old shit you fell for before. Number 22. It is the tree, which is interesting because the tree says, if you cannot have what you want, settle for what you can. The stability of the tree advises caution. This is not the right time to change or take risks. Save your energy and seek stability in both mind and body. That is what I have for you, Capricorn, for March 2023. Until then, next time, be well, stay safe.